Hey everybody, how's it going? Dale here. Welcome back. I'm going to build a gaming computer. I'm going to give you a quick rundown of the parts and we'll jump right into building the computer. For this build, I'm using a Ryzen 7 5700X, 8-core, 16-thread processor. Good processor. For the motherboard, I'm going to be going with, now that's AM4. This system is AM4, not AM5, by the way. This is a B550 MSI B550A Pro motherboard, good board. I've used it quite a few times actually. CPU, and for our GPU, we're going to power this thing with a RX 6750 XT. It's an awesome card, still a beast of a card, even though, you know, it is 6000 series. It's got 12 gigabytes of VRAM. It's I'm using the 3-fan version here. It's a pretty beast of a card. It requires two 8-pin PCIe power connectors from your power supply. Speaking of which, for the power supply, in this build, I'm going to use the MSI MAG A750GL. It is PCIe 5 compatible. It's fully modular. I usually prefer modular power supplies whenever possible, just a little easier to upgrade or to swap things out if you have to. And for my storage, I'm going with the Gen 4 SP 1 terabyte SSD. It's the US 75, I believe, yes. Good drive, used it before. And for the RAM, we're going with some Gskill TridentZ RGB, full RGB. It's 32 gigabyte kit at 3600 megahertz. It's going to be pretty fast. And for cooling this processor, I'm going with one that I've used many times, the Thermalright Burst Assassin 120 SE RGB version. It's a single 120 fan, single tower. It's a good cooler. These things only cost about 25 bucks, but they work really well. So the GPU that I'm going to use, that RX 6750 XT, it's going to be a beast of a card for any 1080p gaming at high or ultra settings, and of course it will play a lot of 1440p games without too much trouble. Just depending on the game, you might have to go to medium settings, but high settings in some games. If you go to medium, you're going to get better FPS, of course. Now for the case, I'm going with a Montech. It's an Air 903 Max. It's a pretty decent case. I haven't actually used this case before. This is all mesh front here. It comes with 3 pre-installed up front, 3 pre-installed 140 millimeter RGB fans in the front and one 140 millimeter fan in the back that is not RGB. Looks like a pretty good case overall. Let me show you the back here real quick. Just like the Montech Air 2, this comes with a nice ARGB/fan hub pre-installed. You got room to add several, like up to 3 more fans, no problem. Have to do some cable managing once I get it all built, of course. And on the top, it's got up front USB-C up here. It's got an LED button so you can control. It's got like 20 different RGB light combinations you can do on the fans. And we're going to hook our cooling fan up to it as well. But it's got a couple up front USB ports, some audio jacks, of course. See if I can get that up without breaking it. All right, so that's what we're going to build. If you want to stick around to the end, I am going to do a full Windows install, Windows 11. I'll activate it. I won't bore you with all the drivers and Windows updates and that kind of stuff. So let's just get into building it. All right, guys, first thing I always do when you build a computer, when I build a computer, most people, we're going to do everything to the motherboard we can outside the computer. It's just a lot easier. We're going to get our CPU, our cooler, our RAM, or our SSD installed on the motherboard. With the motherboard, of course, we got our back plate. We'll pop that in a minute. Motherboard came with a couple of SATA cables. We're not going to use those because we're going M.2. And of course, they gave us 3 M.2 screws. There's 2 slots for M.2. There's one here. This is our PCIe 4.0 slot. And down here is another M.2 slot, PCIe 3.0. I like this board. Like I said, I've used it quite a few times. What I like about it is it's got a ton of fan headers, system fan headers. There's 1, 2, there's 3, there's 4, there's 5. They even got one over here right above the SSD slot. So we got 6 fan headers, but we're probably only going to have to use 1 or 2 of them. Well, actually just one. We're going to plug our header in on the back of our, or inside of our case, our power connector to one of the fan headers. So the first thing I think I'm going to do is get the M.2 drive installed in here. There's nothing in the way. Like I said, I'm going with the SP 1 terabyte PCIe 4. We're going to have to remove a couple of screws for our heatsink and thermal pad underneath there. Pop these screws out of here. Don't ever forget to pull out the protective film on the thermal pad. Just like that. We'll set that off to the side for a second there. Whatever. Get our drive out here. Spin this around so I can get in there. We're going with the 2280 position right here. We're going to use this standoff, obviously. Just plug it in, make sure it goes in all the way. All right, let's get our Ryzen 7 5700X CPU out of the box here. These CPUs, with the X, there's no cooler included. We got our Thermalright we're going to use. There. They give us a cute little sticker if you want to slap that on your case or wherever you can. Now you want to be careful because the pins on the AM4s are on the chip, not on the motherboard. So we got a little dot here in the corner. Tells us how to orientate our CPU. We'll lift the arm up. Always be careful handling these. You don't bend the pins. And there's a tiny little dot on the corner of the chip. Tells you which way it goes in the socket. There you can see it fell right in. Just make sure it's in nice and flat. Just like that. We're going to push the arm down. The arm on these go down pretty easy, unlike the AM5s. That arm takes a lot of what I call uncomfortable force to lock that down, but the AM4s are pretty easy. Now I'm going to have to remove these 2 brackets here in order to accommodate our cooler mounting brackets. So I'm just going to grab my cordless here, take out 4 screws. And we'll put the RAM in here in a second before we start installing our cooler. So we can just throw those over there. We're going to use the back plate that's already on the motherboard. No need to remove that. You want to have it on a flat surface, otherwise it'll just fall right out. Usually, you can build this on top of the motherboard. For me, it's just easier to do it this way just because, you know, I can't stand up or whatever. So, guess I don't need that. So we got that in. Let's see. Go ahead and install our 32 gigabyte kit of TridentZ, Gskill, TridentZ. Pretty good looking RAM sticks. Oh, these things are always sandwiched in there. And they give you a little Gskill sticker if you want that. These are nice and hefty, good heat sinks on them. Nice and thick. There's our RGB. So we're gonna unlatch those two slots there and lock it in. Oh, my stomach's growling. Sorry, we're gonna snap those in. Get our click, make sure they're locked all the way down. There, we got our RAM installed, guys. I'm gonna slide this over here for a minute. Get our cooler out of the box here. And the necessary mounting brackets and hardware we're gonna need, because these are pretty universal. You can use them, of course, for Intel, AM5, AM4, whoever. Comes with a nice little fold-out instruction sheet here. Shows you how to line up and put your brackets in depending on which socket you got. And we're going with the AM4, AM5 setup here. Pretty straightforward on how to put those on. Boy, I wish they'd make them a little bit smaller. Anyway. Get our fan out, our RGB fan. 120 RGB fan. And we're gonna need to get all this stuff out of the way. And we'll get out the hardware we need. So there's quite the hardware kit that comes with these. So we're going with Team Red here. It's for AM4, AM5. Blue is for Intel. Get these things ripped open. Four screws and 4 standoffs here, guys. Just pop those out real quick. Now, shoot. I already came out of my back plate. God darn it. Don't want to lift the board up until we get that in there. Otherwise, like I said, that back plate falls right out of there. Just throw all the extras in the motherboard box. We're going to take our red stand, or pink, red, whatever you want to call them. Just press them right on there. These go on pretty hard. So now we're going to need, Thermalright always sends you a tube of thermal paste, which is good. Need that in a minute. Here's the brackets metal brackets we're going to use. And back plates for the Intel motherboard that we don't need. And again, if you're not sure which goes where, they show you. It's pretty straightforward on how these brackets go on there. Of course, you want the little threaded stud there sticking up. That's how we mount that. All right, let's see. I can't on these ones. All right, these ones are a pain. You have to get the screw right down through that little notch right there. Kind of a pain in the butt. Just kind of get them started with your finger. Come on, Dale. Just get them started. They're not gonna fall off. see that, what I'm doing here. I want to draw those red standoffs all the way down to the board, just until it doesn't turn anymore, basically, like that. Get our other one started here. Those holes are right at the very end there. Could use my cordless, but for these I like to kind of get a better feel of how tight they're getting. That one stopped. That one's still gotta go down a little bit. You want these as even as you can, nice and make sure they go down all the way so the heat sink sits good and flat on the top. Now we'll pull this bad boy out of here. Put the fan, oops. We'll put the fan on after we mount it here in a second. Don't forget this peel on the bottom. Been there, done that. Otherwise, you're gonna get hot. I need two of those metal spring clip doohickeys. They give you 4 of these, but we only need 2 to mount our fan. Untangle them. And we'll need our long shaft Phillips screwdriver again. Got our RAM, our SSD. Now we need some thermal paste. On these square dies here, I just use the large pea size method. Never had a problem, never had to redo one because I didn't put enough. So I'll put that right in the center, as close to the center as we can. Boy. You know what, that one almost seems a little dry. Bear with me, guys. I'm just what the heck? Well, those almost seem like they're a little dried up. Let me grab my my Corsair. Of course, I always drop it where I can't reach it. Sucks being in a wheelchair sometimes. Anyway. Try that again. There we go. It's a nice amount, I think. I use that Thermalright paste all the time. Maybe I just wasn't pressing hard enough. But now we got our glob in the center there. Sorry, I bumped the camera stand. Now we're going to get this lined up. These 2 spring loaded screws here on the side are going to line up just like this. Just don't double check, make sure you got your peel off of there. Drop this down. And just want to get these started. Okay, I got that one started. Come on, line up. All right, got them both started. Now on this, you want to kind of go back and forth on each side evenly. Don't tighten one side all the way down. That's not good. I can see it kind of tipping as I'm going. Just going to go until it stops. Back and forth. They go quite a ways, so just got to be patient. Like I said, until it stops turning. It'll let you know. That one stopped. That one stopped also. Alright. Let's pick it up and kind of look at it. See a little bit I can see a little bit of paste coming out of there, just a tiny bit. That's good. See, we got it in there. Alright, one last step on the motherboard. We're going to mount our RGB fan, the cage. This cage here is going to face towards the tower there. Air blowing this way. We're going to connect this little connector here right to the CPU fan header on the motherboard. Here's our ARGB connector. We're going to run up through the back there, and we're going to connect it right to that hub that Montech pre-installed for us. Get rid of these annoying things. Little bread ties. Got metal in them, so don't leave those laying around in your case. Wouldn't be good. Try to flatten this out a little bit. So you want to kind of position this the direction your fan header is, which is right back up here on the top. So we're gonna go with it just like that. And get our clips on here. Just put that on there like that. They just kind of snap in the holes like that. They'll get in the hole. All right. Get this back over here centered. So we're gonna go with it. Wires out of the way. Ugh. Try to get it lined up. Just pull. Oops! Slipped out of my finger. Got that one. Kind of want to flush with the top here, guys. Oops, nice and straight. Just like that. Okay. Now we're going to plug in CPU fan header, which is this one closest to this heatsink here. 4-pin. This we're going to run up through the case there, so we'll have to leave that out where we can get to it later. Just try to tuck this down in behind where you can't see it. Come on. All right, just like that. All right, there's our motherboard. Everything's mounted. So I'm going to get this installed into the case here in just a minute. While we're right here, let's go ahead and put our back plate into the tower. Before I forget, when it goes one way, you want the small holes pointing down for your audio jacks. I know you guys can't really see this, but I'll reposition here in a minute. Get this in before I forget. The fan layer is right in the darn way. Snap that in there. Make sure it's another way, which it is. All right, so let's get resituated here and I'll get this motherboard mounted. All right guys, before I start mounting that motherboard, let's get I want to get my power supply figured out here real quick. Get out the cables we're gonna need and don't need. They give you lots on these modulars. Just get them all out of the box and figure out what we need. Because for me, it's easier for me to install the 8-pin up here on the top of the CPU 8-pin connector. I typically plug that in ahead of time because it's hard to get my fat stubby little fingers up in there, so I'll show you here in a second. So there's one 8-pin PCI Express, we're going to need that. Of course, there's our 120 volt, we'll just throw that back in the box here. Here's our PCIe 5.0 for if you have a 40 series card, don't need that. We are going to need one SATA connector for our hub, SATA power connector. Oh wait, that's Molex, don't need that. Where's the SATA? Here we go, here's the SATA. We're going to need that. Of course, we're going to need our 24 pin to the motherboard. Big guy here. Here's our 8-pin CPU power connector. We're going to need that. And here's, don't need that. Another SATA. And here's our second PCI Express. So these two are going to be for the GPU coming from the power supply. That's going to the motherboard. That's going to our SATA power connector off our hub. And this is for the CPU power connector up here. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and unravel these things real quick. Hate these bread ties. Try to like straighten these out a little bit so they're not curling up. Obviously this end is going to go to the power supply. So we got our 6+2, we're going to snap these together. Get this plugged in right now. It's just easier for me, guys. I can't stand up and lay the case down on its back or on the side, so I just do it this way because it works for me. So I get these darn things lined up. Trying to get your hand up in there is just annoying. Come on. Okay. Grab the right one, Dale. Jeez, oh Pete, I always do it. CPU. Well, they look alike, sorta. Should have known that 6+2. Duh. Try that again. It's getting a hurry sometimes. Right, that end's gonna go to the power supply. You can mainly tell because the little clip is the small clip versus the big clip. So we're gonna, this one will plug right in. Just like that. Boy, that was too easy. Alright guys, these Montechs, like most cases now, Corsair, whoever, they come with the standoffs pre-installed. This is a full ATX motherboard. So we're going to be using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 standoffs. So we'll need 9 motherboard screws, which I'll dig out. I'll get this mounted real quick. I'm not going to bore you with screwing in 9 screws. Get my cable run up through the corner up there, and I'll be back in just a second. Okay, I got the motherboard mounted. I did all 9 screws, 3 across the top, 3 across the middle, and 3 across the bottom. Here's our ARGB connector for our fan, our CPU cooler. I'm just going to pull that back through here. Let's see here. How can I do that? Just want to try to hide these a little bit. When I cable manage the back, I'll make sure that looks pretty. That don't look too bad. They got these little rubber grommets here pretty close to the motherboard. A lot of cables back there. So before I forget though, I'm going to pop out these two back plates here. I'm going to skip one, then take out two for our GPU here in a little bit. So I'm just going to go ahead and get those out of the way right now. Come on. These magnetic bits work great, but they put such thick coats of black paint on the screws and on everything else. Okay, why isn't that coming out? Really? There we go. Okay, save those for later. I'll put them over here for now. So here's our cables we're going to need for the PSU. Might as well haul that out right now and get them hooked up. Our GPU's back there. Be careful, Dale. Okay, so for right now, alright, so like I said, in the back here, if you wanted to replace this 140 standard fan with an RGB fan, either a 120 or 140, that's totally doable, but I'm just trying to stay within a certain budget here. I'm going to have a list of all the parts down in the description down below, so check that out with links where you can buy this stuff that I'm using in this build here today. Okay guys, so we got that. Let's flip this around real quick. Now I will cable manage this once I get everything kind of where I want it. Let me go ahead before I forget. I'm going to plug in my ARGB connector from the CPU fan on one of these. Got 6 across the top here. I'm going to go right next to that one. If I can get that thing off of there. And of course I'll drop it. Kind of get that bent into shape there. These only go on one way, so you can't really screw it up. Just like that. Boom. So this is for CPU I ran. You can see I plugged that in ahead of time, and I kind of feed it up through there. I mean, on this one there is a lot of room, but it's just a habit. I always plug that in first. For me, I would have been able to get to it, but on some of the motherboards, when the VRAM is like gigantic, it's kind of hidden back up in there. I'm sure if you guys have ever built one before, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So any hoot, getting close here, get my PSU here, hook up my cables. Here is, got 2 of these, right? There it is. Get rid of these twisty ties, should have did that ahead of time. Get rid of that. You guys can see this okay. It's our 24 pin. These things are stiff. I don't know if I like the flat cables better or the ones that are some of the Corsairs. They're braided. And then like some of the Thermalright power supplies I use are all just like individual wires, and they're clumped together real nice, a little more manageable. So anywho, and we're gonna need that SATA connector, SATA power connector. Okay. So on the back here, let's just do them one at a time, I guess. Boy, these are so freaking long. This is for SATA. We'll go right here. Boom, clip. PCIe for our GPU. Gonna need 2 of these. Anyway, sorry, I was just daydreaming there. Go here. I'm gonna go right below it, like that. And our 24 pin. I hate when they got these. Why do they do it that way? Don't really have a choice. I don't like it when they stack them like that, but anyway, we'll figure it out. Okay. Trying to make sure these go in all the way. This one here you have to twist. Goes right above it. Barely. Just want to make sure they're in all the way and they click, which they did. So we're good on that. Let's drag all this over here, along with my microphone wire cable. Alright, so I'm going to start connecting everything to the motherboard that I can one at a time. So we'll go back here and let's get these out of the way first. Our up front LEDs and power switch and all that kind of fun stuff. I like to kind of untangle these a little bit. Come on, get out of there. All right, so we got our HD LED power switch, power LED, and our reset switch. All right, so we're gonna feed those up through the hole in the bottom here, right about here. And this header JP1 right down here in the lower right corner of the motherboard. I'm going to do the HD LED first because that's on the bottom. You can split these apart so you got a little more to play with. Totally okay. So those two go together. Not too much though. Now the HD LED and the power LED, they do have a positive and negative. They go right above one another. Positive goes to the left. In this case, pretty much all are like that. It's pretty standardized. Get our power. Actually, I'm going to do the reset. It's going to go right next to the HD connector. That one's doesn't matter which way it goes. There's no positive or negative. Boom. Like that. Yeah, I'm gonna make sure I get the positive here. And the power switch, just like the reset switch, they're not positive or negative. Come on, slip on there. My fat, short fingers, it's a curse. route these up through here. And our power switch right next to the power LED in the top row. Boom, just like that. Pull as much as we can back there without bending or pulling them off. Okay, we'll manage that later. So there, can't see much at all now. Let's get our HD audio, which is lower left of the motherboard. There's going to be this one here with the mustard and ketchup wires here. You can do that before you put the power supply in. It'll slide in there. Won't be in the way too bad. That's the way I always do it. And this is keyed to only go a certain way, so you can't really screw that up. Just gotta get a hold of it here. Kind of pre-bend it the way it's got to go. Make sure you get it on there right, which I did. So we got the HD audio. We got our up front USB-C connector. Again, that's key to go a certain way, as well as the front USB 3.0. That's key to go a certain way. So let's get those. Now the USB 3.0 is going to connect right down here on the bottom, just to the left of the up front LEDs and power switch. Let's see here. Bring that up behind. Like I said, that only goes one way. Just be careful you don't bend those pins in there. I wish they would design the USB 3.0 different kind of connector. Getting them on is not bad, but you pull that off sometimes and it brings that whole shroud off and you got all those exposed pins. I've had that happen quite a few times. I'm always able to get it slipped back on there and make it work, but ugh. Now the USB-C is all the way over here, right below the 24 pin. We're gonna come up through, I think we'll come up through this, grab it here. We got a little more room for our 24 pin. Like that. So gotta look carefully at these. Gonna get my fat head in the way, guys, sorry. Just have to look at that real close, make sure you get it in the right way the first time. Just like that. Sort of like that. Yeah, we got it. Don't like putting too sharp of bends in those, but okay, now I got this fan connector here. Which one do I want to use here? We have two sys fans up here, so I think I'll go right up here. Pretty convenient. I'm gonna route this through the mess of wires back here. And bring it back around. I'll go to the top one, make it look pretty. Look half bad. I mean, aesthetics are obviously important, guys. Get this off before I forget. Boom. So there's all of our motherboard connections. Other than that, let's get that 24 pin hooked up, or get the power supply slip and slide it in here. Things, power supplies are so heavy nowadays. Not a lot of depth back here for cable management, but seem to always make it work out. Let's slide that in. All right, let's turn it around the right way first. Fan goes down, guys. There's a mesh filter down here on the bottom you can slide out to clean. Same in the front, this front panel, whole front panel will snap off. It's just snapped on there, so you can clean that out as well. Get these on top of the power supply. There. So we got our power supply here. Now, what did I do with the power supply mounting screws? Okay, I had them here. Here they are, right where they're supposed to be. Get my hand in there. Got 4 screws, black screws to mount the power supply to the case. Get those out. Get that anchored in. Get this lined up about where it has to go. Gonna get a couple of these started. Not gonna torque them down just yet. Oops, don't want to do that. There. Kind of crisscross. Should light up the other 2 holes. Just dandy. I just don't like to spin around on those Phillips slots too much if you can help it. Scrape all the black paint off. There. That'll work. There. We have that bad boy mounted. So now, we got our 2 GPU connectors here. Where'd they go? You guys can see this at all. I'm gonna get these fed up through there right now. I reckon, all right, where do we gonna go? So I'm gonna go underneath. Just get these up kind of where they need to be. This crap in the way. Pull off the connectors there. Alright, just gonna get those in position and tidy them up later for our GPU, which is the last thing I always put in is the GPU. I'm sure that's what most people do. Now, gotta feed this bad boy through there. Well, let's get this hooked up first. This is our SATA power connector for our hub up here, guys. I'm gonna try to use the closest one possible here. Twist these, and I can feed all that down below. Boom, just like that. Now this guy here, I gotta take that off. I don't like leaving those twisty ties on there. They got metal in them. You never know. One of those ends touches the back of the motherboard there or something. Zzz. That wouldn't be good. But we got to plug this ARGB connector. Now you don't have to plug this one in, but having this plugged in, then if you install software app that you want to use to control RGB, you got the button on top that'll work just fine. So if we hook this up, you have the ability to do both. Let's see our ARG, I think there's one up here on the top. A rainbow. Yeah, there's one right up here in the top right corner. We'll feed that up to there. Get that plugged into the mobile. Again, you know, if you have a motherboard that doesn't have these connectors, no problem. Oh, these never seem to go on the way you want them to. All right, I had to cut that for a second. I was perplexed. I had to bend the pins on the motherboard just ever bend them just a tiny bit to get them to line up to go in the holes, but no harm done. Just anyway, got it connected. So GPU, let's go back here, get this 24 pin. This is going to come around. These clips on the outside. Let's see if we can get it through there. Just don't give you a lot of room back here. After you get it through that grommet, all these wires in the way. And there we go. Push the grommet out. Isn't that special? At the end of the world, but grommet pushed out. Seems like they always do that on these. Trying to get that line back up. Let's get this plugged in first to the motherboard. All right. Come on. All right, this one you want to get in all the way. So we're going to put a little pressure on the back here. Get my fat head in there and just double check and make sure that's clipped down there. We don't want any gaps. I think we're good. Now Mr. Grommet's not lined up just right. This grommet is partially there, yay. I got the grommet back in position. Make it look pretty. All right, so we're good there. Like I said, I'll get Windows installed. Oh shoot, God darn it. I knew I was gonna do something stupid like that. Okay, and I'm back. How many of you guys noticed that I forgot to plug in the CPU cable? Luckily it's right here, right below the 24 pin. Anyway, I got that plugged in. But I forgot to plug it in before I slid on the power supply. So everything's hooked up back here. We should be fine. Like I said, I am gonna clean up, make this a little more tidy, but I'm gonna do that later, and then I'll show you what it looks like once I'm all done. We'll put the side panel on, just make sure, we don't have to use a crowbar. All right, so now last thing is our GPU. This big beast of a card here. So let's unpackage it. Carefully set it down here. All right, first things first, always want to make sure you peel off all this protective film they put all over it here. You don't want that, leave that on there. Seen people do that, kind of annoying. This one across the front. Where's the starter at for this? Gotta find a good spot to start. And just kind of go slow so you can try to get it all up in one piece if possible. Just like that. Alright, so that's the side we're going to see. Now we have to come up over here and find a corner. And give you a little tab. I hate when they do that. These XFX cards I've used, well, I use that brand all the time, but I've recently done like 3 builds with the 6750 XT. It's a beefy card for sure. All right, let's get it installed. Make sure our clip is pushed back. Pull that little guy off. We're gonna plug it in. Get it lined up. Of course, our cable's in the way. There, got a good snap. Get those mounting thumb screws back in there. Come here. Those there. Get Mr. Nipper, and we'll get windows installed on this bad boy. All right, for this motherboard doesn't have integrated Wi-Fi, so just gonna plug this into it. It's TP-Link AC1300 dual band USB Wi-Fi adapter. They work great. I use them all the time, sell them to my customers. Yes, they're very tiny. There is a small PCIe slot down at the bottom. You can install one there. You got plenty of room here. You can get a couple antennas. Again, those are only like 25 to 30, well, 30 to 40 bucks for an AC, a dual band one. You definitely want to go dual band. Don't get an old wireless end card. All right, so we got it all built here. I'm going to get rearranged here real quick and get set up to install, get into the BIOS right when I first turn it on, and we'll get Windows installed. All right, guys, let's fire this bad boy. I got the keyboard, mouse, power, and monitor hooked up to it. I'm just going to fire it up, turn it on for the first time, and see what our RGB is going to look like. So let me get to the power button here. Oh, you see in the front there, we got our RGB. There you go. Okay, we're gonna have to go, let's see, got 4. Okay, this is a thing with Montech cases that I don't like. I don't know if you can hear, but the fans in the front and the back here, they're all running at full speed. That's an issue with that hub. The last Montech I used did the same thing. Just a second, I'm waiting for this thing to posterize. There it goes. All right, so I'm just gonna go ahead and shut it off. It posted. We're in the BIOS. I'm not gonna do anything in the BIOS yet. I'm just gonna shut it off real quick here. And I'm gonna show you what I'm talking about. I was hoping on the, what is it, the Air 903 Max that they had fixed that, but it is a known issue. There is an easy workaround for it. On this hub that they got up here, there's what is it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's 6 connections for fans, 6 for the ARGB. So what I'm gonna have to do is, give me just a second here, guys, I'll show you. All right, I thought I had some more of those little universal fan hubs. That's what I had to do on the last Montech case. You can take this out, you can send it back. Montech will send you an updated one with better firmware in it. This must be an earlier manufactured one, but the last 2 Montech cases I used had that same problem where the fans just run at full speed. I mean, it's not the end of the world, but I do have some of those hubs at the shop. I'll get one. What I'll do is I'll just unplug the fans. We got 4 of them here. And it's a 5-port little hub that you can just stick right on here and then just plug that right into your motherboard and it solves the problem just like that. Like I said, the ARGB works just fine. There are enough headers on the motherboard where you can plug every one of these fans into the motherboard, but so I want to get Windows installed on it. It's gonna drive me nuts, but let me hook all my stuff back up here to it, guys, so we can get. All right, you can see we're in the BIOS here. Now to install Windows, you can you're going to need an 8 GB flash drive or larger. You can download the Windows 11 ISO right from Microsoft. Just Google search for the media creation tool for Windows. You'll find it'll be like the first one that pops up in the search. And you can download the ISO. Then you can download for free the Rufus utility. And then create the bootable flash drive, and away you go with Windows 11. All right, so let me get this plugged into the USB port back here, or a USB port. But shouldn't have to do much here in the BIOS. This, why is it doing that? Shouldn't be doing that. We can, well, yeah, we're going to turn on the CPU fan fail warning control just for the heck of it. You can see our fan is spinning just fine. Here's our, up here is our XMP profile 1. We're just going to click on that because right now it's showing our RAM. There's 32 gigabytes and our DDR speed is 2666, which is the default speed. So we're going to click on this, choose that, and I'm going to go to advanced real quick, go to settings, and go to security. That's all. I just want to make sure TPM is, it says TPM device found. We're good there. Go back to settings, go to boot. That looks good. I'm going to disable the full screen logo, at least for the moment. And this all looks pretty straightforward. System status. Let's set our date and time. This is, what is today? 12. Alright, said yes. Do you want to save your changes? I'm going to hit yes. And it should just default to booting off that flash drive. We'll see here, but otherwise we can just hit F12, I believe it is, for the boot menu from the BIOS. I just want to get Windows installed. That fan issue just, I was thinking about that when I first decided to use this case, a Montech case, where they got that hub that makes those fans spin at pretty much full speed all the time, which isn't going to hurt anything, but no, okay, I didn't want to boot. Let's go to settings. Let's go to boot. What do we got? Yeah, let me just exit. I believe it's just F12. Get to our boot menu. Oh shoot, I grabbed the wrong flash drive. My bad. That's why it didn't boot. Sorry guys, it will now though. I had the wrong flash drive in there. I got several of them sitting over here, but I have Windows on this flash drive. Try that again. Jeez, Dale. Oh, that fan thing just bugs me. Ugh. At least we got a good post the first time. Come on, boot from the flash drive. I know you want. There it goes. Now it's booting from the flash drive. These Windows install go pretty darn quick. So I'll fast forward it. I just want to get to the point where we can set this up without a Microsoft account. I'll show you. I don't have Ethernet or anything plugged into this at the moment. I don't think I need to. Yes, English, US, install Windows 11. I agree to the terms. I don't, but I have to install it. I don't have a product key. I do, but I'm going to put it in later. It's going to be Windows 11 Home, so I'm going to choose that. Get in a little closer there for you. Hit next. So we're going to go through this. This doesn't take too long. We're going to look for a drive to install it to. It's going to be the first one, disk 0. It's 1 terabyte. The other 2 are from the flash drive. We don't want that. So we're just going to hit next. I think I'm going to stay away from Montech cases for a while until they start shipping them, or they get rid of the ones that were manufactured probably months ago, stacked up in the warehouse with the faulty hubs. So we're going to let this go. Like I said, I'm going to fast forward through this, guys. When we get to the part where we need to do the little trick there, I'll be back. Okay guys, I'm back. So we're going to, at this screen right here, where we choose a country or region, we're on a keyboard, we're going to do Shift F10. It's going to give us the command prompt here. Going to type in OOBE / bypass NRO. Now when I hit enter, it's going to do a reboot, which is what we wanted to do. I don't have internet hooked up to it just yet. So it's going to reboot, and I'll show you. I don't know if Microsoft is ever going to patch this so you can't do that no more, but hopefully not. It's been able to do it for quite some time. All the other little cheats have gone away. They've fixed, or unfixed, I should say. Now we're back where we started. Now I'm going to hit yes for my region, United States. US keyboard layout, yes. I'm going to skip a second layout. And now right here we get to a screen where it says, you know, there's no internet. You click here where it says I don't have internet. And I'm just going to put user. You can put your name in there, whatever you want. I'm not going to do a logon password. Turn off all this telemetry. I do leave location on. I don't know why, I just do. You can turn that stuff on and off anytime, except this won't take but a minute here. So once we get into Windows, of course, got to do all the Windows updates. The MSI, once I connect the internet, the MSI Utilities app from the BIOS should pop up, and we can get all the chipset drivers, blah, blah, blah. We'll get the Adrenaline drivers from AMD for the 6750 XT, game ready drivers. And the other thing you want to remember to do on any new build, custom build you do like this is, once you get your GPU driver installed, you want to go to Advanced Properties under Display and make sure Windows, or make sure your refresh rate is set properly, because usually it's like 50-50. Windows will set your default refresh rate at only 60 hertz, and you might be running a 165, 144, or 100 hertz, or whatever monitor. And you just want to make sure you choose the highest number that's in the list. So you can see this pops up. We're not activated yet, so I'm going to go ahead and plug my Ethernet cable in right now. Did I find the hole? Come on, are you there? There. So, there. We're going to have internet here in a second. There it goes. See, now we populated with all the junk that most people don't want. So, before I forget, let me take out my bootable flash drive here. I'm going to put in this other flash drive. This is where I got a valid product key to activate this. There it is right there. So right now I'm just going to go click on Settings, go to System. I'm going to go to SIM activation. You can see it's not activated. Windows 11 Home. I'm going to hit Change Product Key. I got to open up open up my flash drive. Build 3. Double click it. Got it. I'm going to copy and paste this. Sorry guys, I have to blur that out for obvious reasons. Paste it in there, hit next, and I'm going to click on activate. Windows is now activated. I buy all my valid keys from CJS CD keys. Been using them forever. Work great. Like I said, if you, like right now, there's no, if I right click on the desktop and I go to display settings, and I go down to advanced display, you can see it doesn't give me an option for refresh rate because there's no driver installed that shows our monitor up there, but this is a 144 hertz monitor, I believe. So I'm waiting for MSI to do his thing. I'm going to do a quick restart. Oh shoot. No, that's okay. Now that we have internet and it's activated, I'm waiting for the MSI utility app to pop up. I mean, worst case scenario is you just go to MSI's website and look up your exact board and download what you need, but this app is kind of handy. So I do the motherboard drivers first, then I get the Adrenaline drivers, then I do Windows updates, and we're gonna be golden. There we have internet. It should pop up here momentarily, hopefully. Alright, being timer way out of whack here. I have to check that in the BIOS. We're on Eastern Daylight, Eastern time here. And that's still not right. Turn that off. Change. Oh, that's right. It's just the time. Didn't I set the time? In the BIOS. Oh, come on. Now it's doing Windows is doing this thing on the video driver. Just gotta wait a second here. Okay, there's the MSI utility right there. So we're gonna, come on. Freaking Windows. It is 4. That's right. Why won't that change? Not AM, it's PM. What the heck? Okay. The date and time are freaking out. So anyway, let me install this utility here while that is doing his thing. He's probably trying to do Windows updates. So now I'm going to go through this list and uncheck all the garbage Dropbox. I don't want that. I just want the chipset, Ethernet, network. I don't want Norton. I don't want that. I definitely don't want that. So mainly just those 3 things. I'm going to hit install. I don't know. Well, I know why it's doing that. It's because of Windows updates. But I don't care about that right now. So let me go back to display settings real quick. If it'll let me. Oh, there's something back there. That stupid date and time is stuck on the screen. Open up Mr. Task Manager. Thank you. Go back to display settings. Now that we got a basic driver installed. Go to advanced display. Okay, see, here's our refresh rate now. It's set at 60 hertz. See, we're gonna go all the way up to 144 hertz or whatever, but you always want to choose the highest number. Now that we got a Windows driver basically installed, but we're not gonna use that one. We're gonna get the driver away from AMD. So I'm gonna choose that, let it refresh. So you always want to check that when you do a press install of Windows. Pretty important actually. And MSI is still doing this thing here. So anyway, I'm going to finish getting all these drivers. I'm going to get the GPU driver. Hit use an edge, but I'll open up edge here real quick. Start without data, uncheck that. I just put in AMD drivers. Oh, it's because I was doing my Ethernet. My bad. Don't have internet for a second. It's right in the middle of updating the Realtek. There it goes. We got internet back. So refresh that. There it goes. Okay, we're gonna, yes, we'll accept cookies, download Windows drivers. You can pick your exact card here, but this auto detect thing, it works perfectly. It's pretty darn quick too. So I'm going to open that. Kind of walking you through this real quick, guys. Minimize that. Yeah, you definitely don't want to use the driver that Windows installs by default. I mean, it will work, but it's usually way outdated. You want to get the absolute newest chipset and GPU drivers for your gaming rig after you build it. Very important. But right now the AMD updater is searching for what I got under the hood for a GPU, which is the RX 6750 XT. This is kind of the fun part, setting all this stuff up. While we're waiting on that, let's go to Task Manager real quick here. Take a look at our hardware. So our CPU, our Ryzen 7 5700X, 8 cores. Memory, got 32 gigabytes. We're running at 3600 megahertz or mega transfers, MTS. I think that'll change once we get everything updated here. Of course, Ethernet. Here's our GPU, RX 6750 XT. So all that looks good. Here's what we're going to install. I'm going to hit finish on the motherboard stuff, hit next, and hit install. And I'm going to choose all this stuff in here. This is the newest chipset drivers. Well, yeah, I'm just going to hit install. The MSI just did their thing, but now AMD is going to do their thing. Alright guys, that's pretty much it. Another successful build. Once I get that hub on there, I'm going to show you. I'll probably do that tomorrow, but I'll show you what I do on that to make these fans run the way they're supposed to run. So I'll be back with you shortly. I appreciate everybody watching. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. I'd appreciate it. Have a great night. Okay guys, here's what I did. This is kind of after the fact. I've already went through the Windows install process on the tower here. As you can see, I added the 5-port fan hub right here. I just ran it, the wire from it right up here. I connected it right to a fan header on the motherboard. Solved the loud fan problem, or the fans running at full speed all the time. I just simply disconnected the 4 fans, the 3 in the front, the 1 in the back from this buggy header here, and plugged it in here, and problem solved. So I just wanted to show you that it's an easy fix. Those are about $6-8 on Amazon for those hubs. I just had to bring one back from the shop. So like I said, I've already installed the Windows. You saw all that. So I just wanted to show you that I fixed the problem.